Hello and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Believe it or not, I made it. I'm on time and we're good to go tonight for another great show. And we're going to talk about this guy right here, Chief Seattle. And I want to welcome everybody coming on in. Elderberry and Susie Q. We're waiting for David Null, who will be right on the way. He had to reboot his computer. He's being bugged by Bob. But for tonight, we are going to go take a trip down a dusty road through the forest and over to the Pacific Ocean, where we're going to find a tribe of Indians called the Squamish. And as everybody comes in, I want to welcome them and hope you're all doing really good and having a great day. David Null will be with us in just a little bit. But while we're doing that, we are just gonna talk a little bit about the world around us. And I want to tell everybody to be prepared, not scared. We got a lot of stuff going on in this world, and you probably hear it on the news and on the TV and on the radio and in the papers everywhere. Don't worry, just be prepared. Life goes on. There's no extinction event. No, there's nothing like that gonna happen. Maybe things will happen, but if you're prepared, life will keep on going. And that's just how it always is. We perceive things all in a different perspective. When we finally get the same perspective, that's when the world will either look totally different or we'll fight amongst each other because of the same perspective. It's always great to have your own opinion, your own mind, your own thoughts. That's what we're all here for, to experience in something different. Anyway, Elderberry's in the house. Susie Q, Witchy Moon 73. I hope you're doing good on the quitting smoking. I'm hoping good for you. Linda Espinoza, thank you for coming. And there's my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Welcome to the show. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much, and I hope I can stay with you. There are computer issues on this end, and I just hope you can, the computer will last.
Yes. So far, so good. Genevieve's in the house. Genevieve, I got to get you on this show one of these days. Maybe a Sunday afternoon. I have Sunday off, so this coming week. And I know you broadcast all the time, but why don't you do a broadcast with me sometime soon? Anyway, Diane 9544. Hello and welcome. Thank you for coming. And Rick Walker, yeah, Mercury retrograde. Yes, I'm trying to read two things at once. And but anyway, we got a great show. We're going to talk about Chief Seattle tonight. And I bet you many of you didn't know that the great city of Seattle was named after this guy right here, Chief Seattle, who was a kind and generous chief who wanted to live in peace with his fellow man, especially when the white man came. He wanted to live in peace. And we'll find out why, and we're going to find out what was going on there and what happened in the city of Seattle that makes it what it is today. And if you live in Seattle, give me a shout out, because I'd like to know what Seattle's like this day and time. Maybe 2 years ago. Oh, wow. Yeah. Rick Walker lives in Seattle. Hey, there you go. We're going to talk about your town right there. I bet you there's some things you didn't even know. Okay. So, let's see. Well, David, I hope your computer lasts. Everything looks good on this end. I can hear you and I can see you. Everything is fine. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go into my spiel. I'll let you do your thing, and while I do my stuff
Steal
here.
away.
Yeah, because that's what we're doing here. Okay. And as always, I'm going to provide you people with wonderful pictures. This is the city of Seattle overlooking the mountains and right on the coast there with a wonderful ocean line. If you haven't been there, most of you will recognize the I don't know what they call it, the tower of some sort, but that's what they always have pictured in Seattle. And here's another picture. I don't know what that mountain is. Rick, can you tell me what that mountain is? There you go. Seattle.
It's Mount Rainier.
Mount Rainier. Okay. Wow. Yeah, Mount Rainier in the background. What a beautiful backdrop, huh? Okay. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, Chief Seattle was a Squamish Indian from back in the day, and he was born around, what was it, 1786. Picture taken from Queen Anne Hill. Yes. Oh, yeah. See, Rick really knows where it. Yeah, Mount Rainier. Thank you. Thank you. Now we're going to go to one of these other things that I have here lined up. And in the city of Seattle, apparently, at some point in time, they had a statue erected of this guy. Oh, wait a minute. That's the wrong statue. Oh, yeah. I've made the wrong statue. I wanted to get these in order, but it's really hard to well, there's the one I was looking for. Now, if you've been to Seattle, apparently there's this statue that stands there. As you can see, the needle, the Space Needle, that's what it was called, Space Needle. And they have this statue of Chief Seattle. Now, let's find out who Chief Seattle was. Okay, like I said, he was part of the Squamish Indians. I hope I said that right. And if I didn't, well, shame on me. And let's see. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, Diane, she's new. Susie Q says a warm welcome. Thank you. Yeah, Diane came in. She was over at Amber's channel over there, and Amber was having a great broadcast tonight. And if you haven't seen, oh, I got one of these too. If you haven't seen, oh yeah, here we go. If you've been to Nina, oh, why isn't this coming up? Oh, it ain't working. Oh, that's not good. Oh well. Nina's show. She's having a special on her shirts, and I can't get it up right now. Maybe I'll get it up later, because nothing seems to be. I got Bob is bothering me tonight. This is not a good thing. Why is it not a good thing? I'm looking for one to start. Okay, and this is Chief Seattle. This is where we're going to start with here. I got too many screens pulled up. Here's Chief Seattle from 1786, and he died in 1866. Believe it or not, he lived long enough to have pictures taken of him. Can you imagine living in the 1700s and living long enough that they could take a photograph of you? And there's some significance to all this. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Just remember, the photograph tells 1,000 words, and it's very important. And we'll find out this a little later in the end. Let's see if I have to stop share. I have to get another picture. I got to start at the beginning. And there we go. And I'm going to share with this. So I'm trying something new with this sharing the screen thing, so I can get better at it, getting the things in order, people. Okay, so during the 1770s, the smallpox came through and eradicated about 30% of the indigenous population in the Northwest coast of the Squamish. Anyway, the disease was one of the most deadly and hit the region over the next 80 to 100 years, of course. And of course, it did with all the Indians. As I read there, it limited the tribe down to about 300 people. During the 1700s to 1850s, smallpox, measles, and influenza diseases had killing many of the village communities. This was a terrible, devastating thing. These people had no way to survive this stuff. They didn't even know what it was. The Squamish were the first indigenous people on the mainland of British Columbia, known to have met Europeans who first came around the head of Howe Sound in 1792, a village near the town of Squamish, along the Burkhard Inlet, where numerous villages existed. Spanish captain Jose Martina Navarrez was the first European to explore the area in 1791. In the following year, 1792, the British naval captain George Vancouver, of course, you know Vancouver Bay, met the Spanish expedition in Burrard, maybe it's Burrard Inlet. An oral history passed down through the Squamish families. First contact between the natives and the explorers resulted in Captain Vancouver's shoulder being dislocated, a common game where two players would play a sort of tug of war with their arms. A warrior ripped George Vancouver's arm out of its socket, with George thinking of shaking hands. Yeah, well, you know, when you go to a different country and you don't know the customs, reaching your hand out could get it jerked out of your socket, especially with the natives. It was said that some prophets among the nations foreseen the coming of the future. Andy Paul notes, it seems that it was a tradition among the Indians of early days that a calamity of some sorts would befall them every 7 years. Wow. Notice the number 7. Once it was a flood. On another occasion, disease wiped out the Exanway. Again, it was a snowstorm which lasted for 3 months. The wise men had long prophesied a visitation from a great people, from a powerful body of men. Captain Vancouver came in 1792, a year which coincided with the 7th year, the year in which calamity was expected. The form in which there was much trepidation, so that the strange men of strange appearance, white with their odd boats, arrived on the scene. The wise men said that this may be the fateful visitation that brings us, took the steps to propagate all powerful visitors. Let's see. Anyway, what happened was they went there, they met the Indians. There wasn't many. We're going to take a look. And as we have talked about many, many times, the Indians always had stories of a strange peoples coming and meeting them. It was like it was foretold. They had stories of serpents, the two sisters story, the defiant one. They have a Squamish rock. Story passed down tells a man committed to his marriage trained the coming of his future child, taking morning swims in the water of Albalsite Park in what is now West Vancouver. During his lap, returning, the transformers in their canoe blocked his passage. They told him that he had to move and could not pass, but his determination told him he would do what he must for his wife and future child. The transformers were amazed at his defiance of them as the emissaries of a great spirit, and decided upon his fate. He would be transformed into a rock outcropping for all future generations to remember his sacrifice for cleanliness and fatherhood. His wife also transformed into a rock, which is nearby Squamish Rock. See, there's a story for everything. It's amazing how they always talk about and see, there was transformers back in those days. Oh, okay. We're going to move on. We are going to go this way. The history of the Squamish people. They lived in the southwestern part of British Columbia and Canada. They still reside, a lot of them, in Canada right now. Their history is recorded orally, as most Indians did. No writing system was ever created until 1970 and was based on a Latin alphabet. Most of their history was passed down from one generation to the next. It was considered the responsibility of knowledgeable elders, and also considered very respectable to do so. In recent history, that goes back 200 years, their history includes European discovery of North America, subsequent colonization of the continent, and the completion of the Canadian Pacific Railway. Of course, yeah, that brought settlers to their country. Okay, so we're going to go into their houses.
Can I mention something?
Yes, absolutely.
It said their, history goes back 200 years or something like that. Isn't that what you just read?
Yes.
It goes back further than that.
Well, yeah, in the last
I'm
200 years.
It makes one think, oh, their history is only 200 or 300 years old, when
it's much more than that. It says in the
exactly. I just wanted to point that out. That's all.
In the recent history of 200 years. Here's some of their big houses. Now Chief Seattle, he was born long before, before the white man ever showed up. So he was around when the first white man landed on his shores. And in that time, they lived in houses such as this, with, of course, the totem poles. And why is this, other than teepees and movable tents? Is because they had plenty of wood living in the Pacific Northwest there, or the
and they didn't migrate.
Yes, they did not migrate. They had plenty of fish and deer. The deer and the fish were abundant. They could go to the ocean. They built these crazy giant boats like this. They even to hunt. They hunted dolphins and then whales and anything in the sea that seals, yes. But look at these boats. They were huge. Now, this was, according to what I read, was made out of one piece of timber that was hollowed out, or a tree cut down and hollowed out by burning and chipping away at the burnt wood. After it was hollowed out enough, they would steam it and bend it to make it wider, I suppose, or bigger. And then they would shape all of this. So this is one tree, one log. It's kind of amazing. And they knew how to use steam to bend the wood, which I thought was pretty interesting. How they all did that, I do not know, but they said that the boats can be up to from 20 feet to 100 feet long. And we got some more of these. And this is what the Squamish people would look like back in the day. And when the first white man came, you can see their tiny little boats compared to the giant boats of the English or the Spanish. They probably thought, what a big tree that was. These people were known for their totems, their totem poles and carvings. And of course, unlike a lot of Indians that lived on the plains, they had plenty of wood to carve with and use for fires to keep them warm. Here's the different sizes of boats, canoes, I should say. They're canoes, hollowed out logs. I bet you these are very sturdy, very sturdy.
And heavy.
And heavy, yes. And heavy. Well, if you're taking them into the ocean, I'd say you'd want a heavier boat,
But they used to make kayaks out of seal skins.
Yes.
So, just saying,
Yes. I mean, you got to have a boat for all purposes.
Right.
I mean, something like this would not be something you'd want to go out and fish in. By the time you dragged it off the shore to catch a fish, you'd be all tuckered out. Okay. Chief Seattle, as he grew up a Squamish Indian and became chief. He was known as a great orator for his speaking ability and his wise sayings. He was loved by all his the red man and the white men. Here's one of his sayings: the earth does not belong to man, man belongs to the earth. All good things are connected, like the blood that unites us all. Man did not weave the web of life. He is merely a strand in it. Whatever he does to the web, he does to himself. That is a pretty wise saying. Okay, here's Chief Seattle. When the Europeans started coming to his land, the Indians did not call them whites or Europeans. Believe it or not, they called them Bostons. So a white man would be called a Boston. When the white man came, they were very friendly with the Indians and set up houses. But Chief Seattle was a really good guy, and he directed them to where to find the really good land. And the white settlers set up a town on this good land, which was literally right across from where the Indian village is. When they were setting up their town, chiefs or the people decided to name their town Seattle. And the chief, believe it or not, didn't want him to name their town Seattle. He said it was a bad omen to name or talk about the name of a dead man. And he says, someday I will be dead, and when you talk my name, it will bring you bad luck. But eventually he agreed. So when
I wonder what, sorry to interrupt, but
no, go ahead.
I wonder what changed his mind.
Well, the people, they, spoke highly of him. And
Right.
It really doesn't say what changed his mind, but he was, if I can find it here real quick, I'll read you the passage. And it was kind of interesting because they made a big stink about it. Because the people were really liked this guy. They thought he was awesome. This is what it says. What a fine face the old chief has, thought the white people. How neat he is and how dignified he looks. We shall be happy in our new home with such a neighbor. When the time came for them to give a name to their settlement, they said, why not call this place Seattle, in honor of the Indian chief who has been so kind to us. When Seattle heard that the white people wished to call the settlement by his name, he was not pleased. I will never do, he said, or it will never do. He did not like it because the Indians believed the name of a dead person should never be spoken. After he was dead, his name would bring bad luck on the city. Nevertheless, the people were willing to take the risk of the bad luck, and they named their little settlement Seattle. And so it has been called to this day and will be forever. So far from having bad luck, it has become one of the greatest cities in the United States and even around the world.
But it has had its bad luck.
Oh, yeah.
But to the point, though, he probably didn't change his mind. It's that he just saw that, why fight it? They're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Is sort of where I was headed with my question.
Yeah. Yeah, they just did it anyway.
Right. And it's sort of like, St. Francis in the Catholic Church, he was a priest in a church, and he didn't want no, order of Catholics named after him. He went to the Vatican and complained, and they did it to him anyway. But to my point, this has happened over the years, and Chief Seattle is just one of the many things that, folks have named after folks. And I'm like, I don't want nothing to do with this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. So anyway, they still have some of his letters. He was a very good auditor. The president in Washington sends his word that he wishes to buy our land. How can you buy or sell the sky, the land? The idea is strange to us. If we do not own the freshness of the air and the sparkle of the water, how can you buy them? Every part of the earth is sacred to my people. Every shining pine needle, every sandy shore, every mist in the dark woods, every meadow, every humming insect, all are holy in the memory and experience of my people. We know the sap which courses through the trees as we know the blood that courses through our veins. We are part of the earth and it is part of us. The perfumed flowers are our sisters. The bear, the deer, the great eagle. These are our brothers, the rocky crests, the dew in the meadows, the body heat of the pony and man all belong to the same family. And then it just goes on and I mean, what great words these are. Like, yeah, you can't sell the air, you know, kind of thing. There was
what he was stating the obvious, which
yes.
is still something that people today do not understand. State the obvious. Oh, well, no, we can own this and we can, you know, section off the land and yeah, but it's still, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Who's to blame? Here's a passage. There was a time when our people covered the land as waves of a wind ruffled sea covered its shell paved floor. But that time long since passed away with the greatness of tribes that are now but a mournful memory. I will not dwell on nor mourn over our untimely decay, nor reproach my pale-faced brothers with hastening it, as we too may have been somewhat to blame. Yeah, so well said. Chief Seattle was a, you know, he could really put the words together to make a lot of sense in a good way, you know?
Yep.
Chief Seattle did a lot of important things that changed Seattle's history. He encouraged his people to sign the Treaty of Point Elliott in 1855. He also kept peace with the white settlers. Chief Seattle helped the Denny Party in 1851, and one of his tribes kept David Denny alive. He also built strong alliances with 6 other tribes. This is part of Chief Seattle's speech. A few more moons, a few more winters, and not one of the descendants of the mighty hosts that once moved over his broad land or lived in happy homes protected by, I don't know, I didn't get the rest of it. Yeah, and see, it goes on about the sap and the trees, but this was another one. Here's a Chief Seattle. That's probably one of the only picture they had of him. This is what Seattle would have looked like back in the day. Now we've seen that picture of the, you know, the big city, but this is what it would probably look like. This is one of the oldest ones I could find. Here's Chief Seattle's grave. And as you notice, it's not spelled Seattle, it's Seattle, and with a 1 L instead of 2 L's. So maybe that's what protects the name instead of being. So even he was such a.
Would you go back to that last
sure.
one?
Yes.
And I want to show you that the totem poles are not really totem poles and they're painted.
Yes, these are.
I just want to note that.
Yeah.
Because all the others are carved and painted, but so I think that those are sort of like white man's way of honoring. It's sort of a mixed cultural.
Well, as you can see, this is all modern. This grave marker is old, but this stuff is all new looking. Yeah, so that's all.
I know, but I mean, even the artwork is like I think it's not old. It's not traditional. Old tradition is where I'm putting.
Yeah, it's like a white man's rendition of it. He was so famous they took him into World War II. Chief Seattle on one of the B-17s. So thought I had to put that in. How can one sell the air? Here's one of their huts. Now, in the beginning, we looked at one of those big wooden buildings with the big totem out front. Now, there was a difference in the Indians I've read. The Indians that the kind of more powerful, like the chief or the wealthier Indians, they lived in these hewn wooden houses, like that. They were so strong and well built that they could be used as a fort, and they were covered with mats. They were and the poorer Indians, they had to live in these poorly constructed houses that were covered with mats. Now, here's something. Let's see, where am I on this?
Let me interject something here.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sometimes that, like that hut right there, was not a winter hut.
No.
And
no.
sometimes that all the families, depending on how large they were invited into the large lodge during the dead of winter.
Oh,
Just,
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know, so
they weren't the kind of people to throw their fellow men outside.
so that particular right there is, that's a you know, a non-winter type structure.
Yes. Yes.
And the other ones were, you know, those big long houses, you know, they would invite the whole tribe in if they could fit them. If the, you know, if
yeah.
the space would permit, you know.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because the big wooden houses were huge, I guess. They were huge. Remember, they had lots of timber to deal with. Like these Indians. Okay, what's the one thing I found out about the Squamish? Before the white man came, they made lots of they were big into rugs. It sounds really silly, but they were into rugs. They made these, or not rugs, blankets, blankets, whatever they are. Let's see here if I can find the passage that says this. And the rich people, the more blankets you had, they were here. I found it. Seattle's people counted their wealth in a strange way. The more blankets a man owned, the richer he was. There were different kinds of blankets, and some of them were made from the hair of dogs, which were raised in large numbers for this very purpose. Wow, dog hair blankets. There was wool of the mountain sheep and the down of wild fowl, the fibers from the bark of cedar trees. All these things could be woven in a heavy cloth. Many of these blankets were very beautiful, and no warrior in Seattle's village could dress in grand style unless he owned at least one of them. When the blankets were not in use, they were carefully folded and packed away in boxes. Well, there you go. I thought that was
in a way, they were sacred.
Yes, folded.
It
and
wasn't
put into
just
boxes.
a blanket, it was sacred.
Yes. It says here that there were warriors walking about with their faces painted and covered in earths and grease, and the robes and the sea otter or blankets bordered with fine fringe thrown over their shoulders. High cone-shaped hats made of grass were worn on their heads. So blankets, beautiful blankets and cone-shaped. We've seen the hats already.
Yeah,
you can see that hat that the lady's wearing there.
Yeah, but I also want to point out it's also Chinese in style.
It is. Now, my thought is it Chinese in style, or is it necessity makes invention? You know, since it rains there, you want to have a hat that covers you like an umbrella. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but there's good history that says that some of those things did come from China.
Oh, I believe that.
And I'm pointing out that could very well be one of those things.
Yes.
You know, like what prompted you to make it in the shape of a cone?
Yeah,
you know?
See, like these hats, these look like Chinese hats. Yes,
where did you? And even the tall girl, even has a sort of Oriental type face.
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely.
So but the idea, where did the first idea of a hat come from, and what shape? And, somebody must have had one to say, hey, well, I remember grandma had one that would look like this, so just saying.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, it is. It's totally right on the money there.
But
Let's see.
it shows that the history goes back further than just British Columbia.
Yes, but the bad part is it was so many oral traditions that were passed down. And then when the tribes was thinned out to like 300 people,
right, a lot was lost.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Okay, let's continue on. As you notice this stone here, chief of the Squamish and allied tribes died June 7th, 1866. And it says here, city of Seattle was founded by the founders, but this is his name, Seattle, and this is the name of the city. So it is a little bit different. I just wanted to point that out because of, anyway, back in the day, I forget when it was, they built this statue to him. We showed that in the beginning. You could see how the city has grown around, what, there was of him. Let's see here if I can find this. This is when they unveiled the statue. You can see the Squamish Indians here with their hats.
And their blankets.
And their blankets, yes, and the blankets. And then, of course, the white men on the other side. And this is the statue today. It's amazing how the city has changed around it, but the statue stays the same. I'm surprised being in Seattle, they haven't ripped it down and said it's racist or something,
Yeah.
That's terrible. But anyway, okay, here's if you would have came back in the olden days, this is what the Indians would have looked like in some way or another. The first meeting of these Indians with the white man. Here's Chief Seattle giving one of his speeches. Okay, here's another one saying the tribe follows tribe and the nation follows nation. Like the waves of the sea, it is the order of nature, and regret is useless. Your time of decay may be distant, but it will surely come, for even the white man cannot be exempt from the common destiny. Yeah, we make our own destiny, all right. Now this is his daughter, Princess Angelina. Apparently she lived to ripe old age. She lived apparently very simple, but this is her. I don't know why, but it just I thought I'd picture that because this is what a Squamish Indian would look like, Yeah. The earth does not belong to man. Man belongs to the earth. The earth is our mother. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons of the earth. If man spits upon the ground, they spit upon themselves. Our people are ebbing away like a rapidly receding tide that will never return. That is so true. Pacific Northwest Indians. Here he is in a color photo. I like the hat. It looks almost like an eyeball looking at you,
Yeah.
That's, you always tell me, look at the picture. Look at the picture. Like, what is in the picture? Oh, there's the Seattle. There's another look at the grave. We kind of looked at that already. Apparently there was a book wrote about him. I haven't found it yet, but here it is. Go check it out. It was written by Anne Carew Miller and Robert Inspen. Anyway, here's his picture. And I think we said that this one already. And I'm coming to the end of this, but we can go back. Here, this picture is important. Remember in the beginning of the show, I said pictures say 1,000 words, right? And we got two little less things to come up out. One is, as always, the missionaries came, and the missionaries converted all of the Indians to Christianity. And so, the Indian, here's the thing. So Chief Seattle died. And this is kind of important. Chief Seattle was a great chief. He had his son and knows best. And at his funeral, his son gets up to speak. And Seattle's son now rose and said, "My father's body lies before us. It is going to yonder hill to be buried deep in the earth. Ages ago, this would have appalled us, but the dead bodies of our ancestors were raised on trees or laid in canoes above the ground. But the priest came among us and taught us the prayer. Now, or we are Christians now." Look at how they changed their culture. What do you have to say to that, David?
I think it's sad, actually,
Yeah, they would have appalled them to be buried in the ground, and now let's bury him in the ground,
because by setting them in a canoe and pushing them out into the ocean or whatever, it set them free.
Yes.
But if you bury them in the ground, they're like stuck.
Yeah.
You're like, nope, you're here lies Chief Seattle, versus, here's a memorial to him, because we sent we set the canoe on fire and pushed him out in the ocean. I mean, like the Vikings.
Yeah, exactly. But the Christianity changed them that much.
And so it's like, I don't know, but the Southwestern Indians who put their dead up on stilts and would have been absolutely appalled to bury them in the ground.
Yeah.
I saw something the other day. It was an old Western, but there was a bunch of them that were killed. And so the soldiers and the Christians buried all of them, Indians and soldiers alike, separately, but buried them. And then after you could see the wagon train going off in the distance, and the Indians came back and dug up their dead.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't show what happened after that, but I thought, wow, this is an old movie, an old cowboy movie, and what? I was surprised to see what that little bit of what they showed in that movie.
Like, you know what the funny part is back in those days, I'm going to stop share for a second. Back in those days, like in the 40s and 50s movies era, you got to remember those people that were maybe doing the movies, they were so close to the cowboys themselves. The old time stuff. Look at Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp went from fighting in Tombstone to directing movies in Hollywood. Did you know John Wayne met up with Wyatt Earp and got some of his mannerisms to be the Duke from Wyatt Earp? So when you're watching John Wayne, you're watching an imitation he took up from watching Wyatt Earp. Go figure. Who would have known?
Yeah.
I thought.
But also they were using real Indians back in the day. And some of them real Indians, they were like, no, that's not how it goes. That's not how we would do it. And learning what I know now and watching these old movies with Indians in them, it's like, oh, holy cow. They were very true to some of the Indian ways, even though the Indians were the bad guys. They still portrayed them in that, look what the white man did to all the women and children. They went in and massacred. And then you wonder, so they always, even in some of the movies that I thought would, like really picking on the Indian, they actually, even though they picked on them, there was still respect for them, or in some cases a pity for them, actually. Like we're coming over here, and one of the ladies in the back of a covered wagon's talking about, well, aren't we taking over their land? Weren't they here before us? And here we are in a wagon train crossing their property. And so there was this philosophical conversation with this, I think she was a German lady, going to be a school teacher somewhere. And she was having this philosophical conversation with the soldiers that were accompanying the wagon train. And I was like, holy cow. So, it wasn't just a cowboy movie. If you really listen to the dialogue, they were, saying, hey, wait a minute, do we have the right to do this?
Well, the thing is people, I think they were trying to be authentic in some sort of way. I mean, those Westerns were kind of a little bit of this, but they're more authentic, I think.
Well, here's something to draw just an odd comparison, maybe, but it's sort of like some of the, I watched In and Out, a movie the other day about, the South during the Civil War. And it was a Northern soldier trying to tell this Black woman, as she's, tending his wounds, this Southern Bells brought him in and felt sorry for him and patched him up. But he's like, you should be on my side. And she's, and now to the Black slave woman working in the house, she's like, why should I be on your side? You're the ones that are coming down here and making war with the Southerners. What gives you the right to come down here and tell me, a black slave woman, that you're fighting for me when you're making my life hell because of the war? And I was like, oh, holy crap. what a discussion, looking at the Civil War from a Black slave woman in a plantation house.
Because
to a Northern soldier. I was like, oh my God. And it's an older movie,
Yeah, because we think they would have been like, woohoo, thank you for, liberating me. And instead they're like, my life has been hell because of you. We had to do because I'm still a slave. I'm in the middle of all this.
Well, you brought war upon us. There was a better way you could have done this than to bring war and poverty. And, it was bad enough until y'all started blowing us up. And I mean, it was like, oh my God.
Because there wasn't just Black people fighting on the Union side. There was Black people fighting on the Confederate side too.
Right. Exactly.
Did you know that if I was a white plantation owner, I could send my Black slaves to go fight for me?
Right.
And they would go to war and fight the Union Army to keep them slaves or whatever. Because then, see, I just don't understand all that, but they get it. And they went out and fought too.
Right. Well, when they got down into Georgia good, where Sherman's marched to the ocean, and, having lived in Georgia most of my life now, going up through middle Georgia and having been through where, Sherman went, he left a few towns, he left a couple of churches, but he had pissed off all the Southerners, even the slaves, because they were burning crops, they were burning their houses, they burned everything. And so from the Black man's point of view, wait a minute, these guys are supposed to be our saviors, and they're trying to burn us all out, white and Black. And by that time, it was mostly women and children, and the Black women, the slaves that were left on the, folks who were too old to move or go anywhere. And, they got routed by Sherman and all, and all the Union soldiers went through, stole all the food, raped all the women. They created havoc. So, there were Southerners who would like, well, I would never, serve for my white master. But these SOBs coming down here, I'm gonna fight for my own rights in my own country, for people that I know, and here are these,
Yeah.
Union soldiers coming through. So there was a lot of bad animosity, when Sherman came through and some other things. But to the point, oh yeah, I'm surprised that in these older movies that they have put things in there like I've been seeing. I was like, kudos to them old movies.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
were
yeah.
showing both sides of the coin, not just, murdering the Indians all the time.
Oh, that is absolutely true.
Now, not every movie was like that, but I
Yeah,
have been surprised in that in several of the recent movies that I've watched, the old Westerns, I've been pleasantly surprised.
oh yeah, yeah. I've noticed a lot of that stuff too. So, go out there, people, check that out, because some of that is pretty right on. And I agree with it. I really do. They had those Western guys working on the sets, and the Indians, like you said. Hey, quit fighting. Talking at the dogs. Okay, I'm gonna finish this up here with this guy, and we'll be done in a little bit. So anyway, at his funeral, this is important. He says, before he came, the Seattles were the first in the chase and the first to draw the bow and the knife in time of war. But the godly man taught us how to build good houses, to plant the soil, to get money like the white man. Which before that, they had everything and they didn't need money. So what's better? Okay, this is him talking again. We know that my father was the last great chief of the Seattles. All are his friends because he was just to all. In the last great strife with the whites, my father was threatened because he would not fight, but he feared no one but God. See, this is the influence of Christianity. Some of the white men made threats. The chief of the Seattles told them all when there was cause for bloodshed, they would find him night and day on the warpath. Okay, I turn the page. We are all glad that those troublesome days have passed. We are all glad that the great chief's hands were never stained with the white man's blood. He is now dead, but his name will live on in memory of all good Indians as a wise, brave, and Christian chief. And he wasn't Christian to start with. As he finished speaking, Seattle's son took out a photograph of his father. See, this son was pretty smart. He held it up, saying, "The white men will not forget him, for here is his picture, taken by the light of the heavens. The older it grows, the more it will be prized. When the Seattles are no more, their chief will be remembered by the generation to come." After all those loving words had been spoken, the many friends followed the body of Seattle to a quiet hillside where he should rest forever. And there you go. And I think there's a lot said in that little bit. He held up that picture and he says, "This is my father, the great chief, and he lives on because people can see his picture forever, even after we're gone." And he's right. He's right. We're talking about him today, holding up his picture, and only because he had a picture. And of course, again, with the Christianity. Remember, he was born in 1886, way before the white men got there. 1786, way before the white men got there. The white men didn't get there till 1792, giving him a huge head start. But then my question is, how did them priests, the missionaries, convert all those Indians over and make them want to have money? Is that the white man's greed? I just, it makes me mad.
Well, the Christianity part had not necessarily anything to do with money, but with the congregations, the priest and the Christianity, came money.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
oh, see, now you could sell your blankets and make money
Yeah.
versus making blankets and somebody would trade you something for it. Oh no, this is worth money. It put value on it that the Indians never saw. You know, like you can't buy the land, you can't buy the air, but they put, you know, the white man came, he brought God and the Savior, salvation and all that, so they could kind of buy into that. But the money part of it, that was social. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a social thing. I got this really old book that I was reading out of the other day. I don't know where I put it. I did a show on, I don't know, you caught that show I did on the Salem witches, didn't you?
I think.
Yeah. I think you popped in. Anyway, I did this show on the Salem witches, and in that same book, there's a whole section in there, which will be next week's topic, religion in the Indians. And it goes on how they just couldn't understand how the Indians didn't have or know about God. You know, can you imagine getting to this foreign country and all your entire life you spent believing in God, and then you get there and they never heard of him? Like, what? You
well, because God? It was like, the Great Spirit.
Yeah.
And so for every powwow that I've ever been to, they've always said the Christian prayer. Around the circle and everything, there's a Christian prayer, there's a blessing and everything, and then they say the Indian prayer. And so what I've talked with some of the elders before, it's like Great Spirit includes God, because there are many gods in many religions, but all of them are part of the Great Spirit.
That's right.
So they would say the Christian prayer, signing the cross, all that stuff, you know, depending on where it was and who was there, but always a Christian prayer. And everybody was always serious about it, not half-assed about, you know, the Christian prayer. But then the prayer was said for the Great Spirit. And so Native Americans, in my opinion, can see where both exists. Where in a Christian religion, they go, no, there's only God. And yeah, well, maybe there's more than that, but can we talk here? You know, so, but Native folks, they don't argue the point. They just see both as being, you know, possible and existing. So kudos to them for having an open mind, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, like I said, I'm having my issues with the, you know, every time I read one of these stories, it's always the same. You know, the minister comes in, he teaches them about God, he takes away their religion and substitutes it with the Christian religion, and teaches them about planting, which is all this stuff like planting and learning and the gardening and raising animals. That's all good, but that was the, you know, white man's way. And then you know, he instills this thing like you got to be like the white man and you got to convert to his ways, and changes their whole society over to, you know, something different. And with the money, sell your blankets, your furs, you know, get the white man's money and you can have a pot or a pan and live like him.
Well, it's like, for example, up there around Seattle and up in there were whaling back in the day, and they still do some whaling, but you know, though they whaled for themselves. But then the white man came and said, oh, well, that whale oil, you know, you could kill a few more every year and sell us the oil. You could do this. And, you know, they were selling carvings on whale bone and stuff. So they made money from that. And then the white men started coming, like they have Alaskan tours now that show up in the summertime for 2 or 3 months. And there are all these people with all this stuff that they made over the winter time. like the carnies used to do, and other native peoples did. They worked in the wintertime and made things so they could sell them and trade them in the summer. It still goes on, but they show up with these big boats onto the Alaskan shore, and everybody wants a piece of Alaska. Well, it was the same way with British Columbia. And it was the same way as the earlier settlers and folks came. They were like, ooh, I want that. What can I trade you for? So then it became money and gold in them bar hills up in Alaska and British Columbia, where the natives had no, other than for jewelry, it had no value.
Yeah,
but they could make rugs.
I know. It just blows my mind, though. The more I read into this stuff, like I said, it just, I don't even know. I feel
there was so much corruption by the white settler.
There was.
I mean, it just on so many levels, the corruption was just like, oh my God.
Yeah. If you don't convert to what we want or like us, and you don't join in our ways, literally it was, we're going to kill you, or you go across the river there and live over there. We'll buy your land. And he's saying, I can't sell the land. It's everybody's land. The air, I can't sell the air. But you know what? If he was living today, he'd be shocked, because he'd be like, oh my God, they're bottling up air and selling it.
And they're bottling water
and bottling air. And think of all the things. Have you ever thought of all the things that you pay for that you get literally nothing? Like a subscription service, or insurance, or tons of other things like that. Yeah, I subscribe to this thing so I can watch watch the news, or I have a subscription to such and such so I can, it's a nothingness. I pay for nothingness. I like it. Give me more nothing.
And also, to me, which just bothers me immensely, download this free game. So number one, they're spending money on the advertisement to get you to download something for free. Now, we ought to know better by now that nothing's for free. But so you download this free game. Why? So you can waste time. So there's so much time being wasted on things that at the end of it, what is your net result? Nothing. You have nothing to show for the last hour or 2 or 3 or 6 or whatever playing this game. What have you gotten out of this? Is there enjoyment? Is there, but the thing is that what do you have after this? Nothing. There's nothing tactile. You didn't create anything. You were a part of something that's out there in the ether somewhere. And what do you have? Nothing.
Yeah, you got nothing. Well,
so we're creating nothing.
It's like these things, though. You're right. It's nothing. It's to keep us entertained. But while we're playing that stupid game, they're taking our information. They're taking our photos. They're taking our addresses. They're taking that. To them is valuable. It's worth a lot of money. And they're going, you idiot. You just gave away all your information to me for free to play some stupid game because you thought it was fun. And now I get to click and waste your time. Yes, to waste your time. So now I'm good.
So and to a lot of these things is like, oh, this game is really fun and everything. Okay. Well, I'm curious to some of these folks that I know is that, but why can't you shut it off or put it down?
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, that bothers me. Okay, so play the game. Well, then, but why are you playing it now while we're having conversation? Oh, because I love it. No, it makes me think that you're mind controlled in some way. Absolutely. Because you won't shut it off and put it down. And so the addiction with some of this stuff, to me, there's a higher reason why, and I know we're off topic, but it's not. because they did the same thing to the indigenous people. So
Mhm.
we are the indigenous people now. You know, we
Mhm.
are all Native Americans.
That's right.
And there are some people who are from other countries who they're first generation Americans, and they're more American than some older folks who've been, you know, they've got families over, you know, my grandparents were Americans and me and down the line and so forth. But um so this idea though that for some reason they want us to be distracted,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh
they
yeah.
want us to be distracted from what's going on and to the truth. And so to the American people and to the American Indians, they did similar things back then. Look at this nice steel axe. You don't have to go out and chip away. Look at these, you know, you can make arrowheads out of steel. You know, you don't have to make them out of flint and sit there on the side of the river and, you know, oh, look, we have, you know, guns and muskets and woo. So they
Mhm.
were, you know, sidetracked as well back in the day, just as people these days are being sidetracked. So be interesting to see what the next 10 years brings,
Yep.
the next 5 years. Good God
Mm.
Almighty.
Yeah, it's going fast. Uh let's see. Okay, so what do you got for us tonight?
All right, I found this story and going through and flipping through, and I don't believe I've read this story because there's a particular chief's name in here that
Ooh.
I'm probably going to slaughter. And I think I'm pretty sure I haven't read this story because I didn't want to slaughter this chief's name. So anyway, it's an interesting one. Let me find my page. I got it bookmarked, so I'm at least that smart. Oh, page 88, Mr. Robert.
Nope.
Old
That's
Man Coyote makes the world.
88. Okay. Yeah. Almost there. I turned it, then I went right to 80 or 77. I was like, dang. 86, 87, 88. Old man Coyote makes the world. Here we go. Okay, I am 1, 2, 3, and you read. I'm gonna put myself on mute. I gotta remember I got the call out phone tonight, so I gotta make a call here while you're reading.
All
Okay.
righty. Let me get a wet my throat. And good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming and allowing us to discuss this. And hanging around for a good old story. This is from The Crow. Old Man Coyote makes the world. Here, the trickster takes on the mysterious powers of a creator, leaving aside his clowning ways for a moment. How water came to be, nobody knows. Where Old Man Coyote came from, nobody knows. But he lived. Old Man Coyote spoke. It is bad that I am alone. I should have someone to talk to. It is bad that there is only water and nothing else. Old Man Coyote walked around. Then he saw some who were living, 2 ducks with red eyes. Younger brothers, he said, is there anything in this world but water? And still more water? What do you think? Why, said the ducks, we think there might be something deep down below the water. In our hearts, we believe this. Well, younger brothers, go and dive. Find out if there is something. Go. One of the ducks dove down. He stayed underwater for a long, long time. How sad, Old Man Coyote said. Our younger brother must have drowned. No way has he drowned, said the other duck. We can live underwater for a long time. Just wait. At last, the first duck came to the surface. What our hearts told us was right, he said. There is something down there because my head bumped into it. Well, my younger brother, whatever it may be, bring it up. The duck dived again. A long time he stayed down there. When he came up, he had something in his beak. Why, what can this be? Old Man Coyote took it. Why, this is a root, he said. Where there are roots, there must be earth. My younger brother, dive again. If you find something soft, bring it up. The duck went down a third time. This time he came up with a small lump of soft earth in his bill. Old Man Coyote examined it. Ah, my younger brother, this is what I wanted. This I will make big. This I will spread around. This little handful of mud shall be our home. Old Man Coyote blew on the little lump, which began to grow and spread all over. What a surprise, elder brother, said the ducks. This is wonderful. We are pleased. Old Man Coyote took the little root in the soft mud. He planted it. Then things started to grow. Grasses, plants, trees, all manner of food. Old Man Coyote made in this way. Isn't this pretty? He asked. What do you think? Elder brother, answered the ducks. This is indeed very pretty, but it's too flat. Why don't you hollow out some places and here and there make some hills and mountains? Wouldn't that be a fine thing? Yes, my younger brothers, I'll do as you say. And while I'm about it, I will also make some rivers, ponds, and springs so that wherever we go, we can have cool, fresh water to drink. Ah, that's fine, elder brother, said the ducks, after Old Man Coyote had made all these things. How very clever you are. Well, is something still missing, younger brothers? What do your hearts believe? Everything is so beautiful, elder brother. What could be missing? Companions are missing, Old Man Coyote said. We are alone. It's boring. He took up a handful of mud and out of it he made people. How he did this, no one can imagine. The people walked about. Watching them, Old Man Coyote was pleased, but the ducks were not so happy. Elder brother, they said, you have made companions for yourself, but none for us. Why, that's true. I forgot it. Right away, he made all kinds of ducks. They're my younger brothers. Now you can be happy. After a while, Old Man Coyote remarked, something's wrong here. Oh, but everything is good. We're no longer bored. What could be wrong? Why, don't you see? I've made all these people men, and all the ducks I made are male. How can they be happy? How can they increase? Forthwith, he made women. Forthwith, he made female ducks. Then there was joy. Then there was contentment. Then there was increase. That's the way it happened. Old Man Coyote walked about on the earth he had made. Suddenly, he encountered Serapi, the coyote. Why, younger brother, what a wonderful surprise. Where did you come from? Well, my older brother, I don't know. I exist That's all. Here I am. Serapi, I called myself. What's your name? Old Man Coyote, they call me. He waved his hand. All that you see around you, I made. You did well, but there should be some animals besides ducks. Yes, you're right, come to think of it. Now I'll pronounce some animal names. As soon as I say one, that animal will be made. Old Man Coyote named buffalo, deer, elk, antelopes, and bear. And all these came into being. After some time, the bear said to Old Man Coyote, "Why did you make me? There's nothing to do. We're all bored. I've made females for you. This should keep everybody busy." Well, elder brother, one can't do that all the time. Yes, you're right, it's true. Well, I'll think of something. I'll make a special bird. From one of bear's claws, he made wings. From a caterpillar's hair, he made feet. From a bit of buffalo sinew, he made a beak. From leaves, he made a tail. He put all of these things together and formed a prairie chicken. Old Man Coyote instructed it. There are many pretty birds. You, I haven't made pretty, but I gave you a special power. Every dawn as the sun rises, you shall dance. You will hop and strut with your head down. You will raise your tail and shake it. Spreading your wings, you shall dance. Thus. At once the prairie chicken danced. All the animals watched, and soon they began to dance too. Now there was something to keep them amused. But the bear still wasn't satisfied. I gave you a claw to make part of this prairie chicken, he told the Old Man Coyote. Why didn't you give me my own dance? I don't want to dance like a chicken. Well, all right, cousin. I'll give you a dance of your own. Thus and thus, this way and that, you shall dance. Old Man Coyote, the bear kept complaining. How can I dance? Something is missing. How can something be missing? I've made everything. There should be some kind of a sound to dance to. Why, you're right, there should be. Forthwith, Old Man Coyote made a little grouse and gave him song. Then he made a drum. How? No man can imagine. The little grouse sang and drummed, and everybody danced. Why should this no-account prairie chicken dance? Asked the bear. Why should all those little no-account animals dance? I alone should have this dance power. Why, they're happy. The choke cherries are ripe. The sun is shining. All of them feel like dancing. Why should you be the only one? I am big and important, so I alone should dance. Why, listen to him, how he talks. Be polite to me who made you. Ho, you didn't make me, I made myself. How impolite, said Old Man Coyote. He is threatening the little animals with his big claws. He told the bear, you're not fit to live among us. You will stay in a den by yourself and eat decayed, rotten things. In winter, you will sleep because the less we see of you, the better. And so it was. One day, Old Man Coyote and Serape were walking and talking. Something you forgot, Serape said to Old Man Coyote. How could I have forgotten something? Why, those people you made, they live poorly. They should have tools, teepees to live in, a fire to cook by and to warm themselves. You're right. Why didn't I think of that? Forthwith he made a fire with lightning, and the people rejoiced. Now everything is finished. What do you think? Oh, elder brother, the people should have bows and arrows and spears for better hunting. Often they starve. That's so. I'll give out weapons. Elder brother, give weapons, but only to the people and not to the animals. But why shouldn't the animals have bows and arrows too? Well, don't you see? The animals are swift. They already have big claws and teeth and powerful horns. The people are slow. Their teeth and nails are not very strong. If animals had weapons, how could the people survive? Why, my younger brother, you think of everything. Forthwith, he gave the people bows and spears. Younger brother, are you satisfied now? Well, no, not at all. There's only one language, and you can't fight somebody who speaks your language. There should be enmity. There should be war. What are wars good for? Oh, my respected elder brother, sometimes you're just not thinking. War is a good thing. Say you're a young warrior. You paint yourself with vermilion. You wear a fine war shirt. You start. You sing war songs. You have war honors. You look at the good-looking young girls. You look at the young women whose husbands have no war honors. They look back at you. Excuse the dog. You go on the war path. You steal the enemy's horses. You steal his women and maidens. You count coup. You do brave deeds. You are rich. You have gifts to give away. They sing songs honoring you. You have many loves. And by, you become a chief. Ah, Serapi, my younger brother, you've hit upon something. Old Man Coyote divided the people into tribes, giving them different languages. Then there was war. Then there was horse stealing. Then there was counting coup. Then there was singing of honoring songs. After a long time, Old Man Coyote was walking with Serapi again. You're very clever, my younger brother, but there are some things you don't know. Let me tell you. When we marry a young woman, when we marry a young woman, when we take her to wife secretly, how satisfying it is. What pleasure it gives us. Yes, my elder brother, just so. That's how it is with me. But for some years after you have lived with one woman for a while, you lose interest. You are yearning for someone new. So you steal someone else's wife. In this back and forth wife stealing that goes on in our tribe, has some fellow ever made off with your wife? A proud young warrior, maybe? Why, yes, my elder brother. It is such a man who took a plump, pleasing young wife away from me. It would have been better if an enemy from another tribe had done it. It would have been easier to bear if she were far away where I couldn't see them together. Well, younger brother, if she would come back, would you take her? What? Take her back? Never. I have honor. I respect myself. How could I do such a thing? Ah, Seraphic, how foolish you are. You know nothing. 3 times my wife has been abducted, and 3 times I have taken her back. Now, when I say come, she comes. When I say go, she goes. Whenever I tell her to do something, she remembers that she has been stolen. I never have to remind her. She is eager to please. She fulfills my every desire. Under the blanket, she's a hot one. She has learned things. This is the best wife, the best kind of loving. That's how you feel, but people mock you. They look at you sideways and laugh behind your back. They say, he has taken what another one threw away. Ah, younger brother of mine, what do I care if they laugh behind my back when under our buffalo robe, I'm laughing for my own reasons? Let me tell you, there's nothing more satisfying than having a wife who has been stolen once or twice. Tell me, do they steal ugly old wives or young and pretty ones? So because of old man Coyote's sensible advice, there was mutual wife stealing among the crows in the old days. And that's why crow men ever since have taken back wives they had already divorced. In one way or another, everything that exists or that is happening goes back to old man Coyote. Based on another of anthropological accounts, including Robert Lowe's The Crow Indians.
Wow, that was a good one.
Well, isn't that an interesting story?
It was very interesting. I was like, wow, let's give bows and arrows to the animals too.
No, because they've already got claws. And it's interesting that, this is one story that, admonishes Bear.
Yeah.
And no, you can't live among us. You got to go where a lot of the other stories about Bear is that, Bear is gruff and so forth, but, he has helped and been akin to some of the other animals and so forth. So, but in this particular story, Bear's an SOB. He's a son of a bear.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. And that's it too. He but then it goes on about war. Why should we have war? Oh well, war is good in a way. Well, he's kind of right. He's kind of right.
Well, in the way that they had
in their war, yeah.
Stealing horses and the whole idea of counting coup. And one of the things that kept coming up in the story is that the people were bored.
Mm-hmm.
So Bear was bored, and this was bored, and they were bored, and that was bored. Well, then he gave him wives, and Bear came up and said, look, we got to have more than this. You just can't do that all the time, which I find to be very humorous but to the point. Yeah, okie doke. So, you gave him, you gave men women, but you can't do that all the time,
Yeah, Joe Sapien says the last part touched on MGTOW topics, promiscuity and monkey branching. Monkey branch. I've never heard of monkey branching word before. That's pretty cool. Let's see what else is there. Oh yeah, no, that S. Lee says great story. There you go. Anyway, Desert Rose is in the house. Thank you, Desert Rose, for coming. Michelle Can-Am Free, much love to you too. Who else is in here? We got all kinds of stuff and a lot of people. And thank you for all. So are we going to have a card tonight? All right. Leslie says crazy history with the Navajos. Everyone was a chief until the charismatic Manitulo was selected for signature purposes. The pen, mightier than the sword. Ideals. Yes. Everybody was a chief. Too many chiefs, no work. It's too many chiefs, no Indians. Doesn't get any work done,
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so we learned a lot tonight. I tell you, I really enjoy bringing these stories of the different Indians and the different stuff. And some people say, what are you doing? You know, all that, what's it good for? What this and that, you know, it's our history. We, like you said earlier, and I really enjoy that thought on that perspective. We are the Native Americans now. We are Native Americans. We were born here. We've lived here all our lives. And the tactics that the embodiment of the government or whoever's in control of us, they use the same tactics all the time, regardless of who they are. Like you said, here, buy this axe. Today it's get this video, buy this phone. Here, get this phone. And, you know, we don't need an axe. Like I said, the pen is mightier than the sword. Exactly. You know, here, buy that TV, go buy them that new car or truck, and you'll be indebted to us for 5 or 10 years. And if you really want to be a good person, go out and buy a house, pay lots of taxes, and be a debt slave for the rest of your life, and then pass it on to your children so they can be the debt slave too.
If you can pass it along to your...
Yeah, don't worry. The government will come in and get their fair share of 3/4 of it. And they can pay for the, and children get the last 1/3 of it. If that's
the inheritance tax, the this tax, the that. Why should there be a tax on inheriting something? But
yeah, did you know the Americans are paying up to 60% of their total income to the government? Welcome to the new world. Elderberry says, is there an animal medicine card tonight? Absolutely there is. But anyway.
And the card for this evening is squirrel.
Ooh, squirrel.
Number 26. And it's upside down. Yeah, I was asking if it should be around, and then they're like, nope. But I'm going to read the regular as I normally do, and then I'll do the reverse. But it's squirrel. And I went through the deck, and it doesn't seem to be another one. So single card tonight, and this is for everybody. Squirrel, you have gathered nuts by the score, exactly predicting if you'll need more. Teach me to take no more than I need, trusting great mystery to harvest the seed. Squirrel is gathering. Squirrel teaches you to plan ahead for the winter. Well, guess what? We're pushing winter. So when the trees are bare and the nuts have long since disappeared, squirrel medicine can come in many forms, as this furry creature is very diverse in nature. The erratic behavior of squirrel has bested many a forlorn hunter, and it thus stands to reason that there are benefits to being able to circle a branch at lightning speed. Being the squirrel, not the hunter. This erratic behavior of squirrel can also be get nerve-wracking if you are dealing with persons who have squirrel medicine. Trying to calm them down enough to accomplish something may drive you nuts. The gathering power of squirrel medicine is a great gift. It teaches you how to gather and store your energy for times of need. It teaches you to reserve something for future use, whether it be a judgment, an opinion, a savings account, candles, or extra food. To put it in a nutshell, squirrel is the Boy Scout of the animal kingdom and is always prepared. In today's world of changing times and fortune, it is the wise person who prepares for the future. Our prophecies have all spoken of the end of the millennium and the changes to come. Now, this book was written in the 80s, so the end of the millennium was something that was, anyway. Squirrel is a friendly medicine to have in light of possible future rainy days. Its message is to be prepared, but not to go nuts with it. Love yourself enough to gather the goods that will meet your needs in times of scarcity, even if that time never comes. If squirrel has occurred in your card, if squirrel has scurried into your cards today, it may be that you're being told to honor your future by readying yourself for change. Now, I think everybody needs to listen to this. You are being told to honor your future by readying yourself for change. Now, if there ain't one of us out here, I don't believe that know that, you know, change is all around us. Every single day, something's changing. So, love yourself enough to gather the goods that will meet your needs. The message could be to lighten your load if you have gathered too many things that do not serve you. If these things can include thoughts, worries, pressures, stresses, or gadgets that have been broken for years. And they're kind of tickling my senses tonight about the things that, you know, needs to get rid of can include thoughts, worries, pressures, and stresses. A lot of folks that are under different types of pressures and stresses, and please learn how to relieve those. In understanding the balance involved in gathering, you need to look at the idea of circulating the stock of what you have gathered. Call the nearest thrift store and give away the gadgets or whatever to someone who might benefit from them. If something no longer grows corn for you, then it is time to let it go. Now, the contrary medicine of squirrel is the hoarder, a fearful person who expects the worst and is stuck in waiting. Waiting for something to happen is the trap. No action equals stagnation. Duggar, calm down. Calm down. But a little of squirrel's erratic energy might get things going. No action equals stagnation. Remember that. If squirrel is hanging upside down on your branch, you may have begun to see the world through opposites, hoarding your thoughts of abundance so that fear of scarcity takes hold. Fear of scarcity. You may ask yourself, now fear of scarcity could mean, like for me and my friend that I talked to the other day on the phone, we're like, of all the friends that we've known mutually, we're the only two left standing that were our age. And so it's like, you know, that fear of scarcity, the scarcity of friends. It's like, wait a minute, this one died, that one died, this one died. Yeah, that one passed away last week. This one's passed. What? Fear of scarcity comes in a lot of different ways. Just want to say. So fear of scarcity takes hold. You may have to ask yourself, have I denied my ability to produce enough space for abundance to enter in my life? In other words, we stay so closed off. Can anything come near us? Not if the door's shut or we've got everything closed around us. Have I denied my connection to the Earth Mother, from whom all things flow? And that's sort of relative to, Chief Seattle. In moving too fast as an erratic squirrel, have I taken on erratic nature of the squirrel without having any focus? In other words, you just jump from topic to topic without making any progress with anything. Am I leaking my energy on worry instead of gathering power through being prepared? Now, being prepared could be mentally prepared or food or water or whatever. Remember, one of the squirrel family gathered the energy of eagle and connected to the Great Spirit. Now this squirrel can fly. Let me read that part again. Remember, one of the squirrel family gathered the energy of eagle and connected to the Great Spirit. And now this eagle can fly, flying squirrels. But so anyway, gathering. So in the gathering, it's the gathering of friends, it's the gathering of knowledge, it's the gathering of all kinds of stuff. Spiritual awareness, just, you know. But with the squirrel upside down, have you been hoarding? So I think both are important, especially now that winter's coming on. But with the upside down squirrel, you know, I know that there are times when you say, well, I just want to hang on to this. You know, I don't really want to let this go yet or whatever. And maybe it is time to let it go for whatever reason and whatever it might be. So there's your card for tonight, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Be prepared.
Be prepared. Like I think I said, you know how ironic that is? In the beginning of the show, before you got here, you'll have to watch the first 2 minutes of it before you got on. What was I telling everybody? Be prepared. Don't be scared. Be prepared. Something's coming. Just stock up. Get ready for it. You can winter the storm. And I said all that before you even pulled that card. How ironic.
And I pulled the squirrel card.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It was like I was saying, you know, be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. And then you came on, and then here we are at the end of the night saying the same time. Wow. How it always works out that way.
It is really weird that way, isn't it, Robert? That the cards always speak to something, whether I plan it or not. You know, I mean,
that's right. That is so right. Mary Wynn says, thank you, Hawkeye.
You're welcome, everyone.
Let's see, they were talking about wingsuit technology because of the flying squirrels. Harness the power of squirrel, S. Lee says. So cool. Absolutely. Sheep. Leslie says, sheep worries it all its life about the wolf, only taken by the shepherd for his son's graduation. That is so true. Yeah, you don't want to be a sheeple, because if you're a sheeple, you're always worried about what's out there. But your shepherd is probably the government, and he's telling you where to go. Or he's that guy in your minister in the church, and he's telling you where to go. Which guy should you listen to? Neither one. That's the answer. Listen to yourself. Inner guidance, people.
And, after all these years of what they did to the Native American folk, and what they did to the land, and what we look at now, and how, Bill Gates is buying up property. The Chinese are buying up property. Around here in South Georgia, there's a big 200-acre parcel across the major road up here that are owned by Germans. I mean, Americans can't afford to buy their own property or to keep the own land, Yeah,
and it's something how America is only one of the only countries where a foreigner can come in and buy up the land. And, for the people who live here, we can't afford to buy our own land. You're right. And and we let them.
I've had friends of mine that were Americans who went to work and lived down in Mexico, who came back. And you if you're an American, you can't buy property in Mexico. Now, if you're married to a Mexican, male or female, or however that goes, if you're a woman to a man, and he has the right to buy property. If you're a white male from America married to a Mexican woman, she has the right to buy property, but you don't.
Yeah.
But if a Mexican comes up here, and I know several of them around Thomasville, they have beach houses in Florida. I can't afford, a beach house anywhere, but to the point, they are Americans now. They went through it, but to the point though, no matter, even if you become a Mexican citizen, because you are American, you can't buy property in Mexico. So this idea that everything's equal is BS.
Yeah, I agree. Lucky Smith says, think of the sheepdog. The sheepdog protects the sheep from the wolf, only for the shepherd to kill them and feed them to the sheepdog later. Yeah, I like that. Thanks, Lucky, for that. Lucky's always full of wisdom and affirmations. Anyway.
Well, back in the day when sheep were raised, they were raised mostly for the wool.
Yes.
They weren't raised so much for, I mean, yeah, they ate lamb and sheep, but they were not raised for eating. They were raised for the wool.
What are you?
So
come up here and say hi to everybody. Come on.
Cows raised for eating. And you know, they got to kill it to get its hide. Oh, yeah. That's a good looking dog right there now.
Yeah, she's been wanting, she's like making me pet her. And then she's like, I want up here. I want the attention. Who are you talking to? See, she says, who are you talking? Oh, look at, and then she hugs me. This is how she hugs me. Yeah, I just do this and then she, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, she's a good puppy.
And Douglas is asleep over there on the couch after he's in between.
Look out there, look out there. See everybody out. She says, I don't know what I'm looking at. But anyhow, she's stealing the show. You're stealing the show. Just as long as I keep talking to you. If I'm talking to you, you're happy. Yeah. Oh, okay. My little girl.
We can tell she's spoiled.
Yeah, she's definitely spoiled. You are spoiled.
Oh yeah. We love our four-leggeds, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. She loves it when I take her to Tractor Supply and she gets to go in and they give her treats and she gets to get petted by everybody. She is so spoiled. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. But anyway, yeah, you know, the thing is we just need to open our eyes and not become that sheeple person. I keep thinking that this is the way I look at it. I don't want to be a sheep, but I'm standing in the middle of the herd. And as you know, the herd is moving and you can't help but move with the herd. Even though I don't want to be in the herd, I'm moving with it. I'm tied to the system. Like I said once before, I can't get out of the system. I'm stuck. I have to use the money. I have to have electricity. I have to pay taxes. If I totally get out of the system, I gave away everything I have and I have nothing. Then I have to depend on everyone for everything I need. And so then I'm in the system anyway. I'm just doing it through somebody else. It's kind of like a lot of these big businessmen like China and all that. They're, you know, it's the same thing. They don't go maybe buy the land themselves. They have a broker buy it for them. And then they run it through a corporation. It's not the Chinese guys stepping in and actually putting up their houses and a fence around their property. They buy it through things and then they have other people run it and it's their land though. Doesn't matter. The crops go to their place, not ours. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, way back in the day, I'm somewhere I might still have a clipping from the Tampa Tribune back when Walt Disney proposed the Orlando and Walt Disney World. Yeah. And so what had happened was he had sent in like 15 or 20 different corporations and LLCs, and they bought up the property that is now the Walt Disney World in around Orlando. Yeah. And so he was really sneaky about it. And he even said if they found out what I was doing, they'd lynch me. But it was too late because after all of these pieces of property and everything had been purchased, they consolidated and it became Disney World. Yeah. So, but the people of Florida was like, they were outraged, but it was way too late because the dirty deed had already been done. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. It's
they planned this so far ahead. That's the big thing. They knew, let's just divide it up, and but you buy some and you buy some, and nobody will catch on until it's all bought up. And they do that now. They do that now with everything. It's like the big cities, the corporations do that. The government does that. We'll just do it in little increments until nobody notices. And then one day they're knocking on your door saying, hey, we made a law about taking all your food or your, bang bangs or, whatever it is. And you go, what? When did this happen? Years ago, the government. Well, I didn't know that. Well, too late now. We're at your door. You can't...
even in small town stuff, like there's been some, I consider it corrupt. But so there was a city block downtown in Moultrie, and I mean one of the corners is connected to the square where the government building sits now. There was a pawn shop, and it was all older buildings, right? And they were one story, and it took up the side of the street, and there was a fish market in there. There was a barber shop. At the tail end of it was a feed and seed store, and it took up the block on this one street. So then this building, the feed store is not there. Then the barber shop disappears, and then come to find out that all of these businesses were bought up by a person. And after they got done, all of the buildings were demolished, much to the surprise of some of the citizens, like, where's the pawn shop that's been there for the last 40, 50 years, I used to buy my guitar strings in there, and so it's gone now. So then all of a sudden, the county decides to build the city, and it's a municipal county building now, 2-story, 3-story courthouse, big monstrosity. And Moultrie brags about how they have been able to keep the old Moultrie around. Well, if you knew about Moultrie, they have leveled the old buildings, and certain people within the city have purchased this. Now there's a new building going on it. Ooh, guess what? It's owned by such and such. And they got X many millions of dollars for this developed piece of undeveloped, oh my God. So it ain't just in big cities, it's all over the place, where folks are buying up pieces. Nobody knows that Joe Smith bought up this whole city block and then destroyed it. And made a large profit, because guess who bought it? Oh, the city bought it. They condemned the property so that the value was zero. He bought it for next to nothing and then sold it at a premium back to the city who condemned it.
Yeah, and the city has the power to condemn. Witchy Moon says, what's her name? Ariel. It's Ariel. Ariel. Oh, she's all happy. She knows when I call her name, she's wagging her tail. She's like, Ariel. Oh, yeah, she's a puppy. Anyway, yeah. The city, see, that's the thing with governments and cities and stuff. They have that unwritten power to condemn or to, well, we'll just raise the taxes over here and get rid of those people. Then we'll buy it up. I mean, it's all kinds of crazy stuff. It makes me mad.
Yeah, when you find out some of the underhanded stuff that has gone on, especially for me around here with some of this stuff. And I don't go to Moultrie that often anymore, to certain parts of town. And it's just like, I'm driving through one section. I was like, there used to be a grocery store here. There used to be a gas station, and now there's an empty lot. I mean, but what? Just, okay. They're preserving Moultrie, like hell they are. But
yeah. Well, it's going to be okay. You going to get down? You're going to get down? Okay. You're going to rip my headset off.
Goodbye, Ariel.
Yeah, she's caught my cords. Okay. I'll be done in a minute. She's like, oh, I'm happy now. Now she's going on her pillow over there and laying down. She's had enough for a little while. Anyway, we've done our almost a whole 2 hours again. We're getting good at the 2 hour thing. But it's a well worth good discussion, and I tell you, I really enjoy this, and we learn a lot. And so next week, prepare. We're going to do religion. Like I don't know, I'm a bad one about it, but I like to blow out religion out the water, especially the churches and the Christianity and all that stuff. Not that they don't do good things, they do, but I think through the ages, it's my opinion, and if you disagree with it, well, you should come on the show and argue your point. But the point is I think they've used that power like they did with the Indians to bring a good thing and then twist it in a weird way. Yeah, that's just
well, a couple of shows ago, I believe we talked about how some of the different religions had what they did to the Indians. They put the children in the schools and they cut their hair. They wouldn't let them speak their native tongues. They would, they did some horrific things to the native peoples. And it wasn't just the Catholics, but it was the Methodists. Now, I haven't heard anything bad about the Episcopalians, but the Methodists seem to follow right along with some of the horrific things that some of the Catholic folks did. So if you did, like in Catholic school when I was growing up, we had our knuckles wrapped with a wooden ruler with a steel edge on it, and they would whoop the crap out of us back in the day. And that was them nuns,
Yeah.
And, you'd think that they didn't do other things to them kids up in, oh yeah, because they did it to us kids in Tampa.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. It's just, they did these things, and like I said, they worked through the children. Like that's why I said, in a twisted way, like cutting their hair and changing their religion, and teaching them how to read and write, and then instilling that God is peaceful. And like it said in there, Chief Seattle didn't fear anybody except for God. But then again, when he was still an Indian and he didn't believe in the Christianity, here'd be my question to him. Well, did you fear the Great Spirit? Did you fear the Great Spirit? But he feared God. See, so how can God be this, I don't want to get too much into the religion, but how can God be this loving God when you fear him so much?
Exactly. Here's this guy that, took Job, took his family, took his house, killed everything. And, because him and Satan had a deal, they had a bet going. I mean, come on. We need to shut up and end this.
That's right. Yeah, it's going to be
for next week.
Next week, here we go. You're getting a preview of all this. Remember, everybody, go out and do something nice for somebody, even if it's just a wave or a big smile. Go out and make somebody's day. And with that, remember to be the frequency you want to receive. I love y'all. Peace,
Cheers.
everybody. And there we go. Another show in the bag.